Today I will be teaching you about currency devaluation. You may notice that I have pasted the table of contents onto the handout. With that, I included related terms that will help you further understand the topics in their corresponding places. The blank space is so that you are able to take notes on each of the corresponding topics that will be discussed throughout my presentation. In the fourth portion of the lesson, I will be giving a more in-depth definition of what currency devaluation is. In the second portion of the video, we will be discussing why leaders try to devalue their currency of their countries. After that, I will explain what happens to the population of the country that's currency has been devalued, as well as the effects of the surrounding nations. After you have the full definitions, motives, implications, and effects, I will be giving the two most prevalent examples of currency devaluation in order for you to further understand currency devaluation and how it applies to us in real life. With this, let's get started. Devaluation is when the government of a nation takes certain measures to decrease the value of its currency in order to make the exchange rate between nations more favorable to other nations. When governments devalue their currency, they intend to make it easier to balance deficits and catalyze trade by making exported goods cheaper to foreigners and imported goods more expensive to domestic residents. This video helps explain how currency devaluation is created, what it does to a single country, and how it is used between countries to benefit different economies. Some important terms that you will need to know in order to comprehend the videos are inflation, inflated currency, surplus, and deficit. These terms and how they apply in this context have been defined on the handout.
If we're buying products that are manufactured overseas, then ultimately a part of that revenue stream ends up going overseas. The issue for that overseas manufacturer is what to do with the capital. They can either invest it in their own economy. If they do, that has a tendency over time of inflating the value of their currency. It also inflates the cost to us, the consumer, for those same goods. So there is a motivation on their part to lower the value of their currency or artificially keep the value of their currency less than what it would be otherwise. It's been convenient for us as a country to run a budget deficit, create IOUs in the form of treasury bills, bonds, and notes, and then have our foreign trade partners take their trade surpluses and invest that back into our debt instruments, our IOUs. It does not increase the value of their currency. It keeps it artificially low. And at the same time keeps our currency artificially high.
So why do countries devalue their currencies? A. Demand for exports. Devaluing the currency makes the price of the country's exports, or the stuff that they sell to people in other countries, less expensive. When products are less expensive, people are far more likely to buy them. Therefore, the economies of the nation with the devalued currency has now been stimulated, and any trade deficits have hopefully been closed. However, oftentimes this does not happen, and the economy of the country is put into further distress. The country must now meet the high demands for cheaper products they are selling. Unfortunately, there's another downside to the plus, which leads to B. B. Demand for imports is now down. This is good only if you are trying to encourage people to buy more domestic products. This is devastating for people who rely on things they import from other countries. This is also devastating for the people of the surrounding countries that rely on the country with the newly devalued currency to buy the products that they are exporting. It's because people of the country no longer have the money to buy the products which are now more expensive to them. C. Reduce sovereign debt burdens. If one country is in debt to another country, often they will not have the cash flow to buy imports from the other country. So, if the countries receiving the debt payments would rather see a boost in economic activity, they will devalue their own currency, hopefully see a rise in demand for imports, and use the new cash flow to reinvest in other countries. They also might lower the amount of debt that the other country owes them in hopes that the lowered taxes may help raise consumer spending. The first example is Venezuela, whose currency devaluation led to the price of imports doubling in just a few days. After this, most Venezuelans were not able to buy the products that were previously sold to them. While the country aimed to stimulate the economy, the result was an unfortunate one for many residents in the U.S. and companies that profited from trade with Venezuela. In an interview from Bloomberg.com, the lack of trade between Venezuela and U.S. is very evident. Danielle Toledo explains that she hasn't been able to buy her favorite type of deodorant in about a year. The deodorant that is being sold in the stores around her simply doesn't work due to poor manufacturing. That's why Toledo was willing to pay $240 Bolivar for her old deodorant. Well, it only costs $3 USD, and had it been available in Venezuela, she would have been able to purchase it for 19 Bolivar. Bloomberg.com also reports that annual inflation reached 60.9% in May, which is the fastest in the world. Venezuela is Florida's second largest export market. Roughly 7.5% of all Florida's exports, or $2.6 billion, went to Venezuela during the first 9 months of 2009. For this reason, the currency devaluation was critical to Floridians, who no longer had a market for their products, due to the switch from a fixed-rate economy to a floating economy. The value of the currency fluctuated due to the new supply and demand for that currency. The more prominent example of currency devaluation is China, who is infamous for decreasing their own standard of living in order to create more exports at lower prices for the consumers. As you see in this graph, there is a sudden decrease in value of the yuan. The problem? A stronger USD means that people are less willing to buy our exports. Less exports means a lower GDP, despite the economic plus of being able to buy cheaper foreign goods. Companies relying on exports to China are put under pressure and more likely to struggle. Two other less extreme but more current examples are Japan and Europe. As Anna Swanson of the Washington Post puts it, these stimulus programs are different from China's recent move in many ways. For one thing, Europe and Japan's efforts focus on their own economies, while China's currency devaluation explicitly targets export markets in other countries. And the consequence is similar. Weaker currencies in other countries and a stronger USD weighs on the American exports. In conclusion, countries can use devaluation as a tool to stimulate the economy and protect against or cause imbalanced trade.